Hey, everybody, welcome back to Breakfast All Day. It's a new week, and we've got new news. Matt, Christy, Alonso. Christy, what's shaking? Tell us all the things.
Scarlett Johansson has settled her lawsuit with Disney.
There's a lot of lawyers in that room, I bet.
Right. Very expensively dressed lawyers. And it was sort of a big deal because she was a giant and is a giant star who has been intrinsically entwined with Marvel from the earliest days. And it's interesting that, she sued because she said that when they did a contract about Black Widow, there were certain perks on the back end as far as theatrical performance, and once it became streaming, that kind of cut into that, and so she sued them. And I feel like that is really what has dictated their approach for the rest of 2020, because they said, we are exclusively releasing things theatrically. We're not going to do that hybrid streaming and theatrically at the same time. But they've settled with her for an undisclosed amount, and everyone's like super touchy-feely and like, we're so happy to be in the Scarlett Johansson business, and she's like, I'm so happy to be working with Marvel again. So,
although, I mean, do we think, like, is there anybody in the cast of Shang-Chi who do we think cut that kind of deal? Like, is there any? Because I mean, like, there are big stars in that movie, but I mean, are there the kind of stars who are like theatrical gross big?
I think that's unlikely, because at this point, the deal that, in the contract that ScarJo would have made back around the time of Iron Man 2 would be an entirely different deal than Disney would be doing now, because now they know what they're on top of, right? Back then, even then, I mean, look, like you're still a few years into it, but back around the time of Iron Man 2, it's still like
pre-Avengers.
It's pre-Avengers. It's pre like MCU outdoing Star Wars, outdoing Harry Potter, outdoing DC. Like,
but you don't think that Angelina Jolie has that kind of deal going for
I think
Eternals?
I don't know that I think she has probably a very good deal, but all due respect to everybody in Shang-Chi, none of them carry the weight that Angie does.
Right.
I say Angie because she told me I could call her that.
Right. When you interview her, she goes, "Hi, it's Angie."
Hello.
I think it's an interesting precedent-setting situation here, and they both kind of realized, okay, we've got to make this work for the greater good. The greater good meaning the greater financial benefit.
Indeed.
I bet that Disney paid her a shit ton of money.
As well they should.
Yeah,
she's very valuable.
Absolutely.
Yes. The other thing, speaking of a shit ton of money, is the judge in the Britney Spears conservatorship has suspended Jamie Spears as Britney's conservator. This is a big deal. This is something that everyone's been fighting for a long time. Britney has tried to go through various lawyers to make this happen. We have two different documentaries we're going to talk about on the show later on today.
Yes.
There's been no shortage of Britney coverage. And so this happens to be a timely bit of breaking news.
Yeah, we'll get into it in that review, I think.
Yeah, but
hooray.
Best of luck to Brittany, and good.
Yes, we'll discuss further. The Academy Museum opened this week, at the corner of Wilshire and Fairfax, across from the Peterson Automotive Museum, where Biggie was shot.
Yes,
right?
It's the old May Company, right? Is that what that building was?
I think so. It's a beautiful old Art Deco department store that's been empty for a long time at a very busy intersection on Miracle Mile in the middle of LA. And there was a star-studded gala.
And there's a bunch of museums. It's across from the Peterson. It's next to LACMA.
Down the street from the La Brea Tar Pits.
Yes, which apparently are getting sucked back into the ground in the new NBC series La Brea.
I haven't watched that yet.
I told you the story about my friend whose dog got trapped in there. Did I tell you about that?
In the tar pits?
So actually, it was a friend of mine that their dog disappeared for a week or so, and then they get a call from the pound saying, "Hey, some workers at the tar pit fished your dog out of the tar pits, and we had to shave a bunch of his hair off, but come get your dog." And our thought was like,
shocking.
Well, shit, those still work.
Yeah, he's been fossilized.
Yeah.
No,
anyway,
the dog was okay.
So merely for the LA geography alone, I'm curious about La Brea, because I used to live like walking distance from the La Brea Tar Pit. So I'm curious. That begins. So yeah, there's a big star-studded gala. There's a Spike Lee exhibit. There's a big Miyazaki exhibit and a bunch of screenings going on to kick this place off. So it's been in the works for a while. If you drive past it, it looks like a giant Death Star on Fairfax. Have either of you guys made plans to go?
No.
Oh, well, neither of us are really leaving the house right now. I was invited to one of the sort of kickoff events. I was like, no, I'm not doing that yet. But when the time comes that I can, I absolutely want to. All the pictures I've seen look great. And I know the Academy has pumped a lot of money into this, and they've been working on it for a long time. And I hope it, does for them what they want it to do. But yeah, I am still sort of isolating right now.
Yes, but Rosebud is there.
I know. I saw pictures. The one that Spielberg bought.
I'm not saying what Rosebud is, Matt. I'm just saying Rosebud is there.
Whatever.
It exists. You guys, Barcelona is not safe. It's a lovely city full of art and fantastic architecture, famous historic stuff, but wild boars will attack you if you go.
Isn't it wild boars?
Wild boars.
Barcelona?
Wild boars. Yes. Shakira.
Close your eyes.
Yes, they'll take your purse. So Shakira was in a park in Barcelona with her 8-year-old son, and apparently wild boars attacked her, stole her purse, and then ran off into the bushes with it. And she got the purse back, and it was kind of mangled. But
they spent all her money on her credit cards and ran up a bunch of charges.
They stole her
watched
identity.
a bunch of wild boar porn, and that also reminds me. There's been this recent story. This isn't exactly entertainment related, but in I think Alaska or Canada, river otters have been attacking people and their pets.
wow.
Yeah. Nature is healing and it's pissed.
Oh my God.
Apparently.
So that's sort of a funny story. Shakira did a whole Instagram story about being attacked by wild boars in Barcelona.
Wild boar.
Right. Did you guys see this Ellen Pompeo and Denzel Washington beef?
I sort of saw the headline and then I didn't read any further. What's that about?
I read this story. I didn't get that it was beef so much as she was just relaying an argument that they had.
They had a beef.
Yes.
On set. So she has this podcast. And I guess she had Patrick Dempsey on, and they were talking about, different episodes. They talked about the one, what's that?
The Ellen Podpeo.
It is the Podpeo. And she was talking about how Denzel Washington came and directed an episode, like early on in his directing career. Like one of the first things he did was direct an episode of Grey's Anatomy. Apparently Ellen Pompeo had been a big fan. And so he graced the set and directed an episode. And I guess at one point in one scene, she improvised a line and she screamed at the guest star and said something like, look me in the eye when you're apologizing to me or whatever. And Denzel went off on her because that was not in the script and he was not prepared for that. And he's like, I'm the director. You can't just be making this stuff up. And she got all up in his face like, it's my show and da-da-da-da-da. And then my show, motherfucker, I believe is how she said it, which like, I would not disrespect Denzel in that way. Like you shouldn't disrespect anybody like that on set.
He started it though. And I think, you talked to like Rob Zombie, I actually heard on, I think it was the Bret Easton Ellis podcast talking about how he directed an episode of Prison Break or some show like that. And he goes, you think you're going to come in with your ideas and your angles. And it's like, no, it's a well-oiled machine. The crew knows what they're doing. The actors know what they're doing. You're just sort of like pointing to people and telling them where to go. Not that there aren't directors that have put their stamp on shows like, Mad Men or Sopranos or Breaking Bad. But for the most part, you're coming in on Grey's Anatomy for a week. Like the machine knows what it's doing without you and all of your St. Elsewhere experience.
Right. I mean, a film director is as we all know, is largely responsible in most cases these days for everything that happens on the set and in the production, all hitting that one vision, right? Like they're the leader. But unless you are a director like
a showrunner also,
well, like Fukunaga was on the first season of True Detective, and you were there at the beginning and directed everything, you're more of a hired gun because it's almost closer to like the studio system back in the 50s, right? Where it's like, yeah, somebody's got to tell the actors what to do, but for the most part, the producers are in charge.
You step in.
That I think that's a really good example of the difference of what directing is like on film versus TV.
it just struck me as like shitty in the bravado with which she relayed this story and was like, it's my show, motherfucker. You don't even know where the bathroom is. Like, you've not even been here.
I mean, okay.
And it's all about her ego and like, this is my show and I brought you in.
Maybe don't be rude to Denzel, but yeah, like the star of the TV show can improvise if she fucking well wants to improvise.
I'm a little impressed. Like, man, Pompeo stepped to Denzel.
Yeah.
So funny that's your interpretation of it. I think it's hilarious. We're so off on this.
If she were a man, Christy, I suppose you'd say that she was, defending his aesthetics. But since it's a woman, she's just trouble and a bitch.
No, I don't view it as that. I don't view it in terms of gender. I view it in terms of hierarchy within the industry. And maybe you should show Denzel some respect. And then she was backpedaling. And then she's like, oh, but I love him. He's an actor. He's amazing.
Within the industry, yes. But on that set, she's the queen.
That's her thing. Anyway, I thought it was shitty.
I've never even watched that show, so I have no dog.
I've never seen a second of Grey's Anatomy.
Me neither.
Matt, have you?
I've seen a few seconds of it. I don't think I've watched the whole episode.
The No Time to Die premiere was this past week in London. It was a big star-studded extravaganza. Daniel Craig wore a pink tux jacket.
And he looked good.
More like cranberry.
Was it cranberry? It looked kind of like Pepto Pink from the photos I saw, but I believe you that it's cranberry.
It was a crushed velvet. As somebody said, he showed up dressed as Benoit Blanc.
Yeah, so that was a big deal. This is, of course, his last Bond movie. It comes out next week. But at the same time, as he's leaving the Bond franchise, it was announced that he is going to play Macbeth on Broadway next year opposite Ruth Negga as Lady Macbeth.
Oh.
Yeah,
okay.
That'll be cool. That begins previews like March, like late March, I want to say.
Is this a martini I see
break
before
really
me?
quick?
What are you
so
doing?
You can see
Sabrina
lying.
You guys,
on the back.
sun.
How hot is it in the valley right now?
It's only in the 70s.
It's going to be 82 down here by me today. So maybe it's going to be brutal where you are too. I hope not.
High of 86 for me.
Okay. Oh, good.
88.
Hey, so speaking of people who are unhappy, so we're going to review the Many Saints of Newark today on the show, but David Chase has said that he is unhappy with the streaming hybrid release of his film, not unlike Scarlett Johansson with Black Widow. Our friend Michael Phillips at the Chicago Tribune did an interview with him and with Michael Gandolfini and somebody else. But Chase was talking about how, he's not happy with this, this kind of TV show, kind of movie release. This is not how he envisioned it. And they made us go to screenings. I know you guys both watched it this morning on HBO Max, but I had to see it for radio. And so I had to go see it at a theater this week.
Yeah, I mean, it's a kind of TV show movie like David Chase, which, by the way, he wrote and did not direct. Alan Taylor, who did a lot of the Sopranos episodes, is the actual director. I think if you're a filmmaker in 2021, the idea that, you don't want people to see your film on the small screen, it's like, that ship has sailed. Like, if you want to make a movie for theatrical experience, great, do it. And I applaud you for it. But I think you've got to be understanding the fact that after the first couple of months of release, that eventually throughout eternity, most people on the planet are going to see your movie on a television. And yes, there will be repertory screenings and other opportunities, but now, is he complaining about it because of the aesthetics, or is he complaining on Scarlett Johansson grounds? Is this going to mess with his deal?
That's a good question. He can say it sounds like it's on artistic grounds, but perhaps it's also the expectation that he had contractually going into it, that this was going to be, solely a theatrical release. And then of course the world changed.
I mean, Soderbergh's movie that premiered on HBO Max, they also made us go see in a theater. During that brief window when I was actually going to theaters, and that one at least I get, because it's got all that whole fisheye lens thing, it does. You do want to see that on the big screen, but having seen Many Saints now, it's I'm not sure that it would have been that different an experience on the big screen necessarily. I mean, apart from just the baseline of any movie being different in a theater versus at home.
We can talk about that when we get to the review, but yeah, I saw Venom this past week. You guys would have hated the Venom screening.
Oh,
It was
a t-shirt cannon?
no, there was not. If only. No, because it was at Christopher Nolan's favorite IMAX theater at Universal City. We
Mhm.
all had to schlep to Universal City Walk, and it was very crowded. They are not doing the thing where they make you put spacing. It was a fan screening. And
Oh.
so Nick and Tim Grierson and I all went to Universal City and we saw it. Having said that, I'm glad I saw Venom on a big screen because that, it's a big, fun action spectacular. And
But
I enjoyed it.
that's exactly why I don't feel safe going to screenings.
You would have hated this. You would have, if you
Right.
had even pulled into the parking lot, we would have been fuck this.
But
yes.
but even because even though the studios will say like, oh, everyone has to be, we're
Vaccinated.
undergoing all the safety protocols.
Yeah.
Bullshit. They aren't.
Well, we had to show vaccination at the door, and I had to get Nick rapid tested like that day. I picked him up from school from the bus. We went right to the school testing. So like
like
that
how-
day he had a test.
This is like how airlines weren't selling the middle seat, and now they're selling the fucking middle
Right.
seat. It's like,
Anyway,
mm.
you would have hated it. I was thinking about you guys. I'm like, oh, they'd be freaking out right now. But Venom
I
is
want to
fun.
see it, but not under those circumstances.
Right. So Nick wants to do a Marvel Monday on Venom. So I think we might do that.
Okay.
Maybe.
It's not MCU, Christy.
I know, but it's Marvel.
That's the
Spidey's a Marvel character.
Spider-Verse.
I'm teasing.
You have to do all the Spider-Man movies.
Right. I know. That's true. Well, we did do all the Spider-Man movies. We did Far From Home. And we did
Yeah, but they have
Homecoming.
to do the
The
Sam Raimi
Spider-Verse
Spider-Man
is different
and-
than the and the web movies.
Anyway, it's really fun, you guys. I laughed.
what I
The whole,
hear.
it's so much better than the first Venom. It's so much better. I was
That's
not a
what I
fan of the
hear.
first Venom. Anyway, there's
Mariah
that.
Gates wrote a review for me on Movie Phone, and she calls it the date night movie of the year. And said
It's a
it
love
is-
story.
And she says it's a awesome queer love story.
That's what Bibbs wrote for me at TheWrap too.
It is because they realize that they need each other, as much as they like gripe at each other. And,
Right.
Venom is constantly nitpicking at Eddie Brock in the growl of a diabolical cookie monster. Eddie, C is for carnage. So but they love each other and they realize that they need each other eventually. So anyway, there's that. Licorice Pizza trailer came out. Did you guys watch it?
No,
Yes.
'cause I don't
Matt
watch.
did.
I try not to
Yes.
watch trailers.
I know you don't, but this is Paul Thomas Anderson.
All the more reason.
So Matt, you'll appreciate this because you live in the Valley and you have lived in LA for most of your life. We're various friends of mine and I are all watching this trailer like it's this Zapruder film and trying to like figure out specific locations, like what school is that and what
Yeah.
intersection is that? Because it's Paul Thomas Anderson returning to the Valley of the 70s. So what do you think? Go ahead.
Did you guys shop at Licorice Pizza?
Oh yeah, there was one across in Topanga Mall, on Topanga, like between Victory and Van Owen. Did you, Matt?
No, I don't think I did. I was more of a Tower Records kid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we definitely went there for sure. So, Licorice Pizza, for those of you who don't know, is a record store that was all over Southern California in the 60s and 70s, and then was bought out by Sam Goody, I want to say. Anyway, that's what that's in reference to.
Nothing gold can stay.
Yes, Lori Loughlin's back at work. Speaking of nature is
Yes.
healing.
Yes,
The
she
work release
is.
program.
She so a little background. So for several years, the guy running the show at the Hallmark Channel was a dude named Bill Abbott. And then in 2019, he totally screwed the pooch when a bunch of like the Million Moms got mad because they were showing an ad for a wedding website called Zola that had like two lesbian brides kissing. And he assured them, oh, we'll be taking that out of the air. Well, Big Hallmark, the card company, has been very queer friendly and queer facing for years. And they were like, no, we're not doing that. And they put the ad right back on. And then a few months later, they canned his ass. He then got hired by the Hicks family, who are creepy Trump people and actually have some involvement with January 6th. And
Like
Bunch of
Tom
goddamn
Hicks?
Hicks.
Like Tom Hicks who owned the Rangers?
Yes, the Texas-based Hicks family who like put have like Trump PACs and bullshit. They have a cable channel they've taken over called GAC, Great American Country, which it turns out my cable system actually carries. I had no idea, I'd never heard of the thing. But anyway, they brought Bill Abbott in, and Bill Abbott is bringing in a bunch of the old Hallmark crew. So like they're launching like 6 or 7 Christmas movies this year, featuring many familiar Hallmark faces. And he has brought Lori Loughlin back from exile to do When Hope Calls, which is the spinoff of her old show on Hallmark, When Calls the Heart. And When Hope Calls had been a Hallmark show, but now that's schlepping over to GAC. And so there's this whole weird GAC v Hallmark thing that's playing out right now. And some fans are thrilled about it, the ones who never liked gay people or black people on Hallmark anyway. And then other more progressive Hallmark types like, I'm not watching that fucking channel. These are Trump people. And they're already using dog whistles like safe, family-friendly programming, which is basically saying no gays ew. So I ain't watching GAC. And
I was going to ask you, will you watch this out of curiosity?
I will not. I'm not promoting
No?
on my Twitter. I'm not talking about, as far as I'm concerned, they can all fuck off.
Fuck GAC.
Yeah, fuck GAC. So
Really, GAC?
I know.
terrible.
They
What
really need to
were
work
their
on
other
that
acronyms
acronym.
like IRC?
Barf.
Ugh.
It's an onomatopoeia. GAC.
Fart.
So that's where Lori Loughlin's off to.
Well, that's really interesting. And, I guess she's got lawyers' bills to pay.
Mm.
She's got Olivia Jade's tuition to pay.
That kid's only making so much on Dancing with the Stars.
That's true. Is she still on it? Has she gotten kicked off yet?
I don't know.
Who knows?
Don't care.
The Book of Boba Fett begins airing December 29th. Are we going to watch that?
Yes.
I guess we've been doing all the Star Wars shows so far, right?
I mean, I'm definitely watching it because there's a person in my house who wants to watch it. So we're gonna watch it over here at least. So I think we
why
should do
not?
that one. It looks good, right?
Sure.
So is Baby Yoda in this at all?
Probably not.
Because he's
I
off
don't
with
know.
Luke. He's off with
No.
Luke learning how to be a Jedi, right?
No, it's Tamara Morrison and Ming-Na Wen,
Mm-hmm.
because her character, Fennec Shand, will be in this as well.
Okay.
And is it picking up at the end of the last season of Mandalorian? Is that the
Yeah,
deal?
so like
Okay.
he's now in charge of Hut's. Like,
Oh, right. He's
taken
on that
over
last shot of
Hut's
him on the throne. Yeah,
criminal
yeah.
family. Yeah,
Okay.
I was kind of hoping that they would have like a New Year's party and call it the Boba Fett.
Do they only serve boba? People are walking around with trays with boba. Oh, it's all the jokes.
We ran out of
Dog
big
upside
straws.
I have killed her with that joke.
Oh,
Oh.
look at Sabrina and the sunshine on her belly. So nice.
No.
A couple other things. There was also a promo for Stranger Things that came out this past week. Season 4. They just keep like dropping little nuggets of teasing.
Do they all have
stuff.
mustaches now?
I mean, they're all really old. They're all really tall. Their voices have long since changed. So there's that. Jesse Palmer is going to host the next season of The Bachelor. Former football player and former Bachelor. Jesse Palmer.
That's who he is. Okay. I wasn't sure.
He
Oh, wait.
seems like a safe choice.
Wait, I would have jumped back. Is Ben
Yeah,
Platt joining the cast of Stranger Things?
Ah,
Okay.
He's bringing his own wig,
There you go.
his own bad wig.
So this guy, so he was a bachelor, like,
Yeah,
okay, gotcha.
he was
Did
a
he-
bachelor.
Did he marry the lady?
I don't know.
Hey, lady.
I don't know. I don't follow it that closely. I just saw that he's going to be the host, and he just seems like a really safe choice because he's like a handsome white dude, and he's familiar to the audience. And I guess they feel like they've got to give somebody comforting to the viewers and not somebody out of the box. As we saw,
They should have hired the black bachelorette who has the scathing book coming out,
oh right.
because if they want to turn around from the guy who defended the girl who went to the KA ball, like, this would be
It's
the way
called
to go.
Old South. It has a
Oh,
name.
I know, but believe me, I know.
Also-
I'm really surprised they didn't hire Mike Richards.
I was about to say that exact same thing. Mike Richards is free.
He's
He
not
needs
doing
the
it.
work. He needs the work. A couple other things.
Rachel Lindsay, that's her name. Thank you,
Rachel
Dave's reminding me.
Lindsay. So speaking of going back to normal or not, BTS is returning to live concerts with 4 shows at SoFi Stadium here in LA, where the Rams and the Chargers play, giant $6 billion stadium. They're doing 4
Thank
shows at the end of November, beginning of December.
Thank
Speaking
God.
of crowds,
Yeah, they are ready for the
they're
crowd.
going to light it up like dynamite.
We took Nick to a concert for the first concert since all this went down in a year and a half. We went and saw Devo at
Oh,
the
fun.
YouTube
Oh,
theater.
no.
It was so fun.
That
At
was
the
my
YouTube
first concert.
Was it really? Where did you
Yeah.
see them?
At the Fox Theater in Atlanta on the
Oh,
Oh
cool.
No tour in 1982 or 3.
That's amazing because that's like early MTV. And part of what's fun
Yeah.
about this concert that they're doing is that they have a giant screen behind them and they're showing behind them like the videos for some of the songs. Like you forget how fucked up the Peekaboo video is.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
just the imagery is so weird in so many of their videos. But like Mark Mothersbaugh, you guys, is 71 years old. Like they've all been doing this for over 4 decades and they're still just total weirdos. They sound great. They're still like dedicated to their aesthetic. Like they wear the little red hats. They wear the little
The
yellow
energy domes.
jumpsuits.
Well, see, that's
yeah.
If you're in a band, do the jumpsuit thing. It's forgiving for decades.
Yeah, they're in their little yellow jumpsuits. I just thought like they still sound great and they're still so like devoted, if you will, to
That
like-
was a Matt joke.
that was terrible. That was sub Matt.
That was
But
a
I would-
devolution.
It was. I was just really, I walked away feeling really inspired. I'm like, these guys are still doing what they love at the level that they've always been doing it for all these years. And they're still like, they still do like, the motions, like when they do Satisfaction, they still do like the really quick little motions. It was really fun, but we had to show vaccination at the door. We had to get Nick tested because he will not be vaccinated for another month still.
Right.
And supposedly you're supposed to wear masks indoors the whole time. We did. Not everyone did. But it was really fun. They sounded great. A couple other quick things. Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh has COVID. Did he get it from Squee?
I was wondering, what about Doobie or whatever his dumb
Right.
friends' names were?
Can we check on the safety of the beer bong they were sharing?
Mm.
So but supposedly he was vaccinated back in January and he's fine, but he has COVID. Also this weekend, something for us to look toward is the Ayatsi Vote, the union that covers so many crew members in film and television. They're going to vote this weekend as to whether to strike. They are expected to vote yes overwhelmingly. There's a big long variety article. It's very helpful as far as like spelling out what this could mean and who it
Right.
affects.
Because even if they say they want to strike it, the next step is then the heads of IATSE going to the producer and saying, we're at the table here. They want to strike unless you want to give us, these concessions. And then I think if the producers don't, then the actual strike happens. It's not like they vote and then it happens, right?
I don't think so. But also I realized in reading this that it doesn't necessarily affect all productions. So like commercials, for example, and low budget films under 15 million could still be in production.
Okay.
And like HBO and Showtime, I want to say, have their own separate arrangement. So some stuff it'll still affect a whole lot of people in this industry. And they're asking for things like, having a break to eat. Things like not having to do a quick turnaround from Friday night to Saturday morning and having like 16-hour days and driving home late after a long day.
Yeah, no, it's reasonable stuff and it's important stuff. And, I think if people who don't work in the industry think, oh, they're just whining or whatever, it's like, look at the number of like car accidents, often fatal, that have happened because people have been leaving a set at 4:00 in the morning and trying to get home to get a couple hours sleep before they have to go back at night. Like there's a lot of ramifications, mental health, things that are because people just get worked like pack mules. It's crazy.
Yeah. And it's inhumane. So anyway, so there's that. And then also the New York Film Festival is continuing through October 10th. Really important potential award season stuff playing there, like Power of the Dog. I believe that Todd Haynes's Velvet Underground documentary just premiered.
Premiered at
Passing.
Cannes, but yeah.
Oh, okay. It played there. Passing, which is Rebecca Hall's directorial debut, starring Tessa Thompson and Ruth Negga. Speaking of Ruth Negga, so and
Not
Paul
a ton of-
Verhoeven's Vendetta also.
Benedetta, yeah. I mean, it's weird. I was surprised that, like, apart from Tragedy of Macbeth, which was their opening night, not a ton of premieres. Like a lot of these films either played Sundance or Cannes or Venice or Berlin on the way there. And I always think of New York as being more of a launch pad for titles. Maybe I don't know if that's different this year or not.
When I was covering it, I covered it for like every year I was there for the 6 years I lived in New York, and it was like a lot of major art house and international filmmakers who will like always come back. So like Almodovar will always come back, and whether or
Sure.
not that was the first place that his film played, like so his new film Parallel Mothers is playing. I think it's their closing night film, I want to say. But it's
We-
like familiar, established, really respected, important filmmakers will return to New York always.
We all know Benedetta is going to be batshit, right?
I can't wait. I'm so looking forward to that. And then the Almodovar. By the way, speaking of labor, the Lincoln Center staff is trying to unionize and is facing a lot of walls from management. So
Yeah.
if you can support them on Twitter, there's like I don't have the account in front of me, but they are trying to organize, unionize, and have better working conditions.
There you go. Power to the people. Anyway, that's all I got for you for news.
All right. Okay. Well, hey, thanks for watching, everybody. Like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us at BeFastAllDay on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and do check out our Patreon page at patreon.com/BeFastAllDay. We're talking about Morning Show. We're talking about Ted Lasso, which is winding up its second season. And pretty soon we'll be putting up a poll where our subscribers will pick a scary movie for us to review in honor of Halloween this month. So you can only vote if you are a subscriber. So get over there, patreon.com/BeFastAllDay. Have a good week. Take care of yourselves and each other. We'll see you next time.
Bye.